Hi, you're watching Floyd Steinberg's YouTube channel. Today my second video on Zynthian, a Raspberry Pi Linux-based audio production system. Today I will add an external USB interface, add a MIDI controller, take a look at the sequencer and create a short track on this device. So here we go. Okay, so last week I showed you how to set up the Zynthian. But today I'm going to add some external hardware. We got the Korg Nanokontrol for controlling synthesizers in real time, and I'll also use the Zoom H5 as an audio interface, so the overall audio quality is improved. And yeah, I'll just connect this by USB cables here, and then we'll take a look at the software, how to set this up. And then I will connect this to my big keyboard and have a look at the features of the software. In the first video, I used the Raspberry Pi's internal headphone jack for audio output. Today, let's use an external USB audio interface so the sound doesn't distort all the time. In an SSH terminal, enter A-play-L to list all your audio devices. Memorize the short name of your audio device as shown here. Now, open the file .jackdrc in your home folder and add the line shown on screen. Then, in Zynthian's web interface, go to the audio setup and select generic USB. Also, check the advanced view option and change the jackd options. Here, add your USB device's short name after the DHW : part. Now save those settings, but don't reboot your system yet. We're going to add a VNC server so you can remote control it from your PC. The info on Zynthian's wiki is inaccurate, so you have to download the VNC server by typing the command shown on screen now. This download may show an error message, but don't worry, it will work anyway. Now, start the VNC server with the commands shown on screen. Then, on your PC or laptop, install a VNC viewer, link is in the video's description, and now you can use your mouse and keyboard to control Zynthian, which is much easier. Okay, so now let's set up the MIDI controller so we can control things like filter cutoff frequency and filter resonance in real time. You do this by tapping this part of the screen, and then you need to move a pen or your finger from left to right slowly while using the control you want to assign slowly. And this is very fiddly and it doesn't work most of the time. So now let's try it. So moving slowly here and moving this. Oh, it worked. Okay, so once you got this, you can then use the buttons to control your parameters, and sounds like this. Alright. With the controls set up, now let's take a look on how to load sounds and create a sequence using the step sequencer. A track is called a layer in Zynthian, so begin by tapping the layer option on top of the screen. I'll add a drum track here, so I'll add a soundphone player with a jazz drum set. Now go back to the main menu by tapping the upper left corner of the screen sometimes and open the step sequencer. Press the loop icon in the upper right corner and you can begin adding beats. I found playback only works if your Zynthian is connected to a MIDI clock master, for example a MIDI keyboard. Now let's add a reverb effect. We can do this by returning to the layer screen and tapping and holding our drum layer. Now an option will show up for adding audio effects. Select the reverb and adjust as you like. Okay, drum track is done. Now I'm going to add some more tracks using only the Raspberry Pi, no external effects. And yeah, I'll just improvise something and use the first take because this track will be only for this video. So excuse any mistakes and errors on the way. Well, okay, let's begin with a synthesizer pad. This is called Warm Pad 2 from the first synth in the collection on the Zynthian. And here is a piano used in the Linux sampler. It's called Salamander. And here's a very nice electric piano. This plugin has been around for 30 years on Windows, but now it's made its way to Linux. And now I'll add the bass sound. This is once again the Linux sampler. Okay, and finally I'm going to add a guitar using a special effects layer which is called MOD. And yeah, I've already showed you that in another video, but they've integrated this into Zynthian, which is quite nice. So here we go. Okay, and now let's put this all together and I'll play a lead sound on top. This is the TAL synth you can find on the Zynthian. Yeah, and that sounds quite nice, I think, despite the plugins being really old. Yeah, and one thing that bothered me is that I had to tune down my keyboard for some of these parts, because every plugin seems to come with its own tuning. That was especially apparent on the lead sound, which was really flat. Well, yeah, but overall, it's perfectly usable Zynthian, but I'd advise you to buy the Raspberry Pi 4. Those cracks and pops you could hear on the track were so-called X-run errors, which become audible if the CPU is overloaded. So yeah, overall I think it's a fun project, but you'd never use such a thing in live situations. So it's a thing you can enjoy at home for fiddling around with electronics. Yeah, and that's it for today. I hope you found this interesting and useful, and if you did, please consider subscribing to my channel. And as always, thanks for watching, and see you next week. Bye bye!